I like to wait. There we go. So welcome to Teachers Teaching Teachers. It is the 24th of October. And I met some people in Washington, D.C., was invited down to National Geographic by LRNG and as part of our work with the National Writing Project. And so I invited some of those folks. Wait, let me switch this. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe it doesn't matter. Anyway, so for an informal conversation, Kylie Pepler is here with us as well, and Christina Cantrill is doing her best to get here. She had some Red Cross training to do tonight, just to reveal all of everything. But she'll be joining us, and Katie is in her church in Iowa.
Kicking people out of the room.
That's cool. Why don't you introduce yourself, and then Kylie, you introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Katie. I am
Katie, sorry. Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah. I am. We're even now.
Okay. Right.
I am a Geo-certified inquiry teacher. I am a teacher librarian in Ankeny, Iowa, which is a northern suburb of Des Moines. And I've been in my role as a librarian this is my 6th year. And before that, I taught high school English for 27 years. Yeah. We are in an 8-9 building. So we have both middle school and high school in 2 different grades. We are just shy of 1,000 students in our building.
In 2 grades?
In 2 grades, yes.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And we are the 4th fastest growing city in the United States and have been in the top 5 for the last 4 years. So we have some very unique challenges. We're building a new elementary every year, and we've split into 2 high schools, and it's just been fun and crazy and chaotic. And I joined up with National Geographic 2 years ago, 2 summers ago, with a high school or with an 8th grade social studies teacher. And we both got Geo certified together.
Which we're going to ask you to define in 1 second. But Kylie, okay. You want to introduce yourself? And we'll have the cast of characters here at least.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm Kylie Pepler. I am the Chief Learning Officer at LRNG, but I'm also situated at UC Irvine, and I'm an associate professor. There I specialize in learning sciences, and I bring together sort of informatics and education and thinking about how new technologies can be leveraged to heighten learning. And so it's been a joy being part of the LRNG team, and we're particularly excited about this project with National Geographic and working with teachers like Katie to explore the Geo-Inquiry process and the possibilities for what this space could look like on LRNG.
Cool. And I'm going to out Chris Sloane as somebody who does slow journalism with National Geographic. But Chris has been with Youth Voices, and we've been working together for almost 2 decades now. Anyway, hi, Chris.
Hey.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
I will, yeah. So my name is Chris Sloane, and I teach high school English and media at Judge Memorial in Salt Lake City, Utah. Yeah, I've worked with National Geographic in the context of Paul Salopek is walking around the world, and some people have built a site called, so he's Out of Eden Walk is his walk. You'll see it periodically in National Geographic. And then some people from the Harvard School of Education have built a community called Out of Eden Learn. And so I've been working with them for probably maybe about 5 years, participating in that project. So that's good times. And then, yeah, we also, my media staff works with PBS NewsHour, their student reporting lab. So the election season has been keeping us pretty busy, Paul, when you asked about last couple weeks. We're on some pretty interesting stories, but enough of me.
Keep going a little bit. You can, no, go ahead.
Well, okay then.
The PBS
so the one we're on right now is there's a record number of women who are running for office in the midterms this year. And so we're exploring the effect that that's having on young women, girls, who are volunteering for those political campaigns. So in Utah, for example, there's 1 Senate race and 4 congressional races. And out of those 5 races, 3 of them have women candidates that are either close or, trying to be competitive in those races. And so we're interviewing their young volunteers as to what effect that is having on them as, their political activities and their interest in politics.
Very cool. Thanks for coming by tonight. Rich, welcome. We sort of waited for you, and then we thought, oh, let's get going. Welcome.
Thanks. Dinner went late. Sorry.
That's cool.
So, Rich Novak here. I'm excited to hear everybody chime in again later. I'll get to meet you all that way. Rich Novak, I'm chiming in from Connecticut. I'm an English teacher, Fairfield, Connecticut. And I'm involved with this Geo-Inquiry. I got involved with that through the National Writing Project. I work with the Connecticut Writing Project in Fairfield with Brian Crandall. And I've done some work through them, and that's how we met up. So I'm really excited to do this.
But mention your thesis as well.
My thesis, right. I'm also a doc student at Teachers College. And right now I'm studying my students who we have this outdoor environmental literature course. It's been around Fairfield for a bunch of years, at least 30 years. So I got lucky enough to take it on. And my research at Columbia is really going to be just about that. Why not take students outside? It was, this course was started for reluctant readers, air quotes there, right? 30 years ago, and these are students that often want to be outside. So I said, why not study what's going on here? And that's what I'm in the middle of right now too.
Cool. And Katie did mention before we started recording that she might have to leave early. So we're going to start with her. So do you want to start by talking about what it means to be a certified Geo-Inquiry?
Sure. I'll tell you, when I started the process, I didn't know what I was doing. I was asked to join my social studies teacher as her partner. And then I found out it meant a trip to Washington, D.C. And yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. But we went out to, and you don't have to go out to Washington anymore. We were the first group that went through this specific type of training. But the bottom line is that you design an inquiry unit that uses the Geo-Inquiry process, which is getting students to ask the guiding question, which is quite a process in and of itself. Collect, which is to collect data and information about their topic, to visualize, take that data and visualize it so that it makes sense and it's organized, and then to visualize that data. Ask, collect, visualize, create products that will help tell a story, so that you can then act on what you've learned and do something that helps your community, your environment. It's basically, it ends with this culminating real life, authentic project. And for us, our students, there you go, ask, collect, visualize, create, act. So we selected one of some students from my partner's classroom, and we began to look at what has happened to our community, Ankeny, with the result of this mass amount, like they're building 1,500 to 2,000 new homes every year. Apartments, farmland is disappearing around our area, and it's good quality farmland. But more importantly, what was happening to natural habitats. And we looked at several different things, and we finally focused on bees because we brought in some speakers, and what we found out is that the bee population has significantly decreased, like more than 50% in our area. And so students did research on the types of bees and what they can do. And so they ended up coming up with a question.
Katie,
yes?
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, you said you taught English for 23 years or something?
27 years.
27, sorry.
Yeah.
Apologize. How would you say this inquiry process is different than other kinds of inquiries you've done in the past?
Well, it's inquiry in that students are the ones driving it, but the difference with Nat Geo is their interaction with the data to begin with. It's more than just looking at data. You have to actually recreate and visualize, which I had never done before. And even as a teacher librarian, we have inquiry in our standards, and we had never actually tried to visualize and make it tell a story for somebody else. The creation part is unique, and usually it results in a research paper, but ours had multiple things. We had to create a landscape because we ended up deciding to go to create a pollinator garden in our community to help bring some of habitat back for these bees. But I think the single biggest difference is that there is an authentic change in your world because you're done with this, when you're done with this. Students have acted, and it's funny because they are invested in bees like I've never seen students invested in anything.
They still are?
Oh, yeah. Paul and I were talking before we started that there was a community near us in Nebraska where some vandals went in, and there was an entire beehive community it was the livelihood of these farmers, and they vandalized. They knocked them over in the winter, and all these bees died. And our students were just almost in tears. And this was long after our project was done, because they realized the damage, and they said, these idiots don't know that they could be killing themselves by doing. I mean, they were just outraged and upset. And it's fun. Even this year, I have kids coming by and talking about different things having to do with the bee and wanting to expand the pollinator garden. And but yeah, we have a pollinator garden that exists in Ankeny now that the kids planted and worked with a prairie life person to get the right plants and put it in the right place. And I have a feeling that I will be the one manning it in the future years to come, but they graduate and leave, but that's okay. A prairie garden is not hard to manage.
And Kylie, if we could grab you in here. So what's the idea of putting this curriculum online?
Yeah.
If I could ask it that way.
Well, this is a
high
quality approach. So at LRNG, we're really excited to be working with National Geographic Society just to be able to bring this to our audiences. They've also been just terrific partners in terms of, this is a small pilot period where we're hoping to learn more about LRNG and how we can support a process like this, but also all of our school partners. And so there's just going to be a lot of learning that will happen for us over the course of this project. But this curriculum.
Sorry, you will keep going. Just to say, it's way small pilot project. I was just in a school today talking about the different work we're doing, and realized that we've been working in that school for 3 years, and I'm like, we're just getting started. It feels like, but anyway, yeah.
I know, yeah. It takes some time. So
but go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so that's exciting, and But the other portion about it is that, you know, at LRNG, we're really interested in civic change and civic activism. And so this ties right into that, you know, the social studies portions of it, the you know, actually getting out there and changing the world around you. We think that that has really huge potential to the youth that we're trying to tap, and of huge interest to the educators on our platform as well.
Cool. So let me encourage you all to ask questions, interact here. What are you thinking? Or what's this make you think? Or what do you want to see more of? Or Rich, do you want to jump in?
Well, no, I'm thinking. What am I thinking? No, you know, I'm excited for this whole Nat Geo project, and I'm just thinking about what I was looking for right now as I'm listening. I showed the first introductory. You just had it up there, Paul. The first introductory ask prompt for the playlist, the XP, up there in the left-hand corner, I think. Or no, that's phase 5. I was on the very beginning. The one we earned a badge. There it is. That. I showed this to the students we had just had my students go outside and they found their listening point and they wrote about it. And I said, I bet you this is going to be a great place for them to just kind of think about questions for this. And so
let me slow you down a little bit. I heard you say this the other night.
Yeah.
Listening point. How do they find listening points? What is
so? Yeah. So listening point is first of all, listening point comes from this great piece of nature writing by Sigurd Olsen up there in I think he's in the Quetico Superior County up in, I think, Minnesota, right? I've never been there, right? Obviously. And he had this piece, it's called Listening Point, where he went out and he found that spit of land where he just basically stayed there for 30 years and he wrote from there, and it was his inspiration. So my colleague, Dave Null, who kind of handed this course over to me, and he also co-teaches at the other high school, he gave me this idea of doing a field journal and you know, using listening points. So they find their listening point. This is a tradition of this course, right? We've been doing this for literally, like, you know, it's probably 25, 30 years that we've been doing this with students. They go find a listening place in their, you know, suburban neighborhoods or somewhere. They often go to a park. They go to this same park a lot. I mean, a lot of these places. Is
it supposed to be nature or?
So I say nature, yeah, I say nature, but, you know, later in the course we problematize that with eco-criticism, but, you know, that's another whole mess.
Yeah.
So this time when I read right before we had our earlier chat, I read their first field journals where they did this once, because they do this a couple times over the semester, because I want them to see the seasons change. I want them to see how each green place has different things to observe. But, you know, these things, these places raise questions. That's why I love this whole Nat Geo project, because it's that geo-ness of it that I really like. And so I read their first field journals, and I said, like, they were already like exploring these ideas. I'm like, you could turn this into a question. Now we had the second ones. I had them read each other's, and then we showed them the ask prompt. And I said, okay, so what kind of questions might we ask for Nat Geo? And I haven't even looked at them all yet, so I'm looking for them right now. So, but let me see. Here they are. They ask questions like, is the seaweed and algae benefiting the lake, or so the lake is Lake Mohegan, right? That's what they're talking about. Or is it leading to eutrophication? Right. This girl took, I think, AP Bio or something like that, right? I mean, so these are seniors in high school. So there's one question: is seaweed? Does the fisherman spot have any negative impacts to the nature around it? I thought that's interesting. So here we have the little kernels are being planted. I'm going to come back to these like in 2 weeks, but we're going to get some tutorials first, right? that's our next plan.
Cool. So Chris, what do you think?
Well, not to get off topic, but my students are actually doing something with someone who's doing the Central Wasatch Range Mammal Project. So we just were out in the field with him, and he's trying to get a sense for how many mammals are in our canyons around Salt Lake City. So we were out with him at his research site. It's actually a restricted site in the mountains up here. And so it kind of made me think like, oh, this seems kind of like what you guys are doing in a certain way. Yeah, so that's one thought. Do you want me to hit you with my random thoughts here, or should I stop?
Whatever, I'm just inviting you in. Yeah, that's all good. Yep. So one of the things I've already heard is like finding the science and the community action at the same time. It seems like an interesting tension. Do you think that's true, Katie, or is it just you're the expert here on the process?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, when I heard some of Rich's questions, the first one sounded like a really good science one, but not necessarily a community action one.
Yes, I will tell you that the question is by far the hardest to really nail. We spent the most time on the question part of the process. Once you've got the guiding question, the rest of it comes easier, but the question has to be open-ended enough to allow for students to explore. So you don't want a yes or no question. You don't want something that can be answered by Google. And we found that students don't like to develop that. They want the questions given to them. They want to know what they have to research. So our Alex Oberle, the professor at UNI, who is our Iowa Alliance, Geographic Alliance, bought textbooks or not textbooks, but these books for all of our students called Make Just One Change, teaching students to ask their own questions. And I'm telling you, that is a must-have for just about anybody. Is there a chat feature on here? I was going to put a link.
There is. Yep. Upper left.
Upper left. I see screen.
Scroll across. There's a blue chat button.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
Very top left.
Yeah, I see screen share.
Well, I don't know. But you can just send it to me. But
okay, I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my link to Sigurd Olson there, okay? And then maybe it'll show up for you.
Cool.
No, I'll send it to you, Paul, via email.
So what do you think you're going to work on this year? Do you know yet?
We're not sure. We also did one on the refugee process or project, and we ended up, it was the weirdest thing. I'm telling you, things just fall into place. I happened to sell a table and chairs, and I did it on a Facebook swap site, and the guy who came to pick it up was the accountant for the refugee program in the state of Iowa while we're doing this process. So we got hooked up with them, and our students did a clothing drive for refugees in our area. And we tied in the literature. We read the book Refugee by Alan Gratz, and that's just one of their projects.
Yeah, but I'm listening for the geo there, right?
What do you mean?
Is there science in that yet? Or do you think there can be, or am I just being too? Yeah.
No, there can be, but there can also be just geography, which is what ours does.
Got it.
So you can look at it from a geographic standpoint. You can look at it from a science standpoint. This year it'll be a geographic one because it's world geography that our students are studying. That we hope we get clearance to do 9th grade. Yeah. So yeah.
So here's what all of us also have in common, and I could throw it back to Kylie maybe on this, because Katie, you mentioned when we were in Washington that you were interested in. You have Girls Who Code kind of.
Yes,
club?
yes,
Yeah.
I do. Yes,
and so you're interested in using LRNG that way. And Rich,
yes.
when you looked at LRNG, you said, "Oh my gosh, I want to use this for everything." And Chris Sloane is just jumping into LRNG too. So I don't have a question there, but anybody want to talk about LRNG? What do you think?
Well, I haven't even talked to Kylie about this yet, but I saw my assistant superintendent outside of one of the high schools, and I was talking with her and telling her about this, and she does this program called Orbis, which is actually preparing students to enter the work field directly from school, and they're learning the skills they need to go into the workplace. And she is so interested in partnering with Ella. I mean, she is hot. She's got a meeting with me on November 9th to learn more about it. So Kylie, I need to know. I might even be pulling you in. I mean, this woman is gangbusters. And when she heard about the Web 2.0 compliance with the badges, she just flipped her gourd. So that's what I like about the LRNG. And I think Kylie needs to talk about, because that to me is that's a deal maker.
Let's ask her a really tough question. So why do people get so excited about LRNG?
Oh gosh. Well, I think that, when you said before, like you want to use LRNG for everything, you want to design it, really expansively. It's really made to be the platform that we can share our practice, that we can take, existing high quality practices like the Geo-Inquiry process, localize it to our context, have our kids building portfolios of work that they can, that they can start to share with others. We can start to accredit those with badges, and then, maybe even higher education credit as we move forward with our new partnership with Southern New Hampshire University, and so much more. So I think what I see a lot of people getting excited about right now is that we've got great content on a lot of the soft skills, as people would talk about, professional type skills to supplement what it is that you're doing as an educator that oftentimes gets pushed out. So we've got high quality playlists that help kids with conflict resolution, with other types of social and emotional skills, timeliness, those kinds of things. We're working to take all of the high quality curriculum that we know of and that really makes a difference in kids' lives and try to make that accessible and here on the platform for you. We also really work hard at trying to make kind of this a youth first platform, so that it's savvy for educators to navigate, but we're really trying to make sure that our branding and the feel of it is responsive to our youth. So we sit with we have a whole youth advisory council that comes in and lets us know, gives us feedback on the platform and on the content and everything else. And I think there's something too, is that we work in so many different spheres, is that we work online and we've got things that are happening in person, and then we need to connect them to other spheres that are happening in the same place. So LRNG extends the classroom into the whole community, into the city, and so I think everyone can kind of start to see what the possibilities are for what this could be, and so that's also part of the pull, I think.
I have a user question.
Yeah.
Go for it.
How do I find the resource you were just showing, Paul? I'm on LRNG, and I'd like to find the geotagging. Is that?
I think if you search for it, you will find it.
Okay. So,
but are you on as a student or as a teacher?
I'm on it as an org.
Yeah.
No.
If you search for National Geographic, it'll probably come up. I will say that it's because we're on a closed pilot, that is just by invitation only to sort of make it into the National Geographic group. We are hoping, and we're talking to National Geographic now about sort of that next phase of the work to sort of bring this to everybody interested. But that probably won't happen until after the first of the year.
So I wouldn't be able to find it, is my answer, right now.
I think you might be able to.
Well, anyway.
Kylie, I don't want to say the wrong thing here.
Yeah, so if you search once you're logged in, if you search for National Geographic, you can probably start to stumble onto the.
You can stumble onto it, but it's not. Yeah. I like to say it's unlisted. But,
it is unlisted, yeah.
But but Chris, I think you'd need to be on as a student. I think you wouldn't find it, but I don't know for sure.
That's right. That's right. You won't find it in the remix library yet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I want to encourage. I'll do the same. So if you have a few students who are like Geo-Inquiry, I think you do. You often have in your classes kids who are natural Geo-Inquiry kind of youth, who wanted to mess around. I think we could probably figure out how to get your kids in that way, Chris. But,
I think we could, yeah.
Yes.
So just
closed everyone but you.
My question, actually, what I wanted to do was look at the like the visualization of data XP. I just had questions about that. So like at some point we can just talk about that.
Yeah, but the website is also pretty good in terms of giving all that information.
The website?
The National Geographic website.
Absolutely.
If you just search for National Geographic Geo-Inquiry, you'll find that site, and you can.
Worked really closely with the staff and the, that hosts the annual professional development workshops every year to really make sure that these were high quality playlists and sort of up to their standards. It may be great, Katie, if you talk to a little bit about what those PD sessions are like, because it's a whole separate thing, and I know Rich, you were interested in maybe attending those at some point too. But that's another way for people to get connected to this.
You mean the PD sessions for people getting certified?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we did 2 ways to get started for ours, and I know that there's a new cohort that just got started. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Okay. This summer we held one with Nebraska people, the 2 Nebraska teachers who were certified with us, and we were at the Blank Park Zoo, and we went through the Geo-Inquiry certification process with them and actually had them do Geo-Inquiry in the zoo. They went out and collected data. They looked at different ways it was visualized. They visualized it themselves. And we spent 2 days there, and so those people earned a graduate credit for going through that process, and then they could earn another one if they went back to their classrooms and did the Geo-Inquiry process and documented that with their students. We also did the same thing later on in the summer with our Illinois counterparts on the Mississippi River, and we used this organization that takes people out on the river and teaches them the science involved, like with pollution and different invasive species, and we did the exact same thing. We did the Geo-Inquiry process there, and then they also got an extra credit for taking it back to their classroom in the fall semester and bringing it back. And then in the process, they got Geo certified.
Cool.
Yeah, Kylie, to follow up too with the PD, I'm totally interested in learning more about how to design content there, obviously. But that's the thing about LRNG. When I saw it right away, I think we kind of echo that what we've heard, that there's a lot of potential. And what I've already shared it too. Like
there's more potential than there is time.
Exactly. Yes.
But to that end, the thing I really, really enjoy about it even more than that is that it's really crowdsourced. It's like, I love that what you're talking about, how I could see that it starts with the students. Like, that's why I knew it. You know what I mean? Like, that you're saying that made me say, like, of course it is. Because you could see that. And Paul, what I see what you're doing with the youth voices, like, I just keep on coming across cool stuff as I was searching around. And I'm like, this is really cool what you're doing there. And I could see that going there. So I'm excited to just bring it to students. I also showed it to a couple of teachers, my friends who teach special ed. I do a lot of partnership with special ed, and all those kinds of exceptional learners are always welcome in my class. So I am always thinking about those students, and so I've shown the potential. It's just like it takes a while to get people eased into it, let alone my own learning. So there's that. There's some kind of like inverse proportional curve I see on a graph somewhere where it's like enthusiasm times, innovation times time, equals nuts, and that's kind of what it looks like.
Well, and Kylie, I'm really it just hit me. The Geo certification process needs to involve the badges for the teachers. That needs to be a badge that we can put, because they're doing all these micro-credential things, and there needs to be that for the Geo-Inquiry process, because I'm thinking, holy cow, these teachers would be able to put that. I don't see a lot of teachers using LinkedIn, but I think that's going to happen more and more. But there's no reason why we shouldn't be using that as the platform for delivery as well.
That's great to hear. Yeah, the real hope here is, with the National Geographic folks, is that they can start to get to youth directly. They can start to see the wonderful work the kids are producing individually. Even if you have small teams of things, certainly they get to see what the certified ed teachers are doing, and there's a lot of work to kind of pull those together. But can these start to become part of the youth portfolios and not just part of the teaching portfolios as well? But yeah, all of our badges, they can be published on, I don't know, at least 100 different platforms, but definitely on LinkedIn and so forth. And so as you accredit the kids and they earn these badges, they'll be able to share them. And I think even more excitingly is that they'll be creating a portfolio of work, a lifelong portfolio of work that they can curate and they can share out to. And part of our journey is, kids actually, they start to do this kind of work. It's almost incredible. They're not even sure how to talk about it. We talk to so many kids that have great educational experiences, and they really think that, actually, when I go in and I talk to an employer, they're not going to believe me. So being able to have that evidence, being able to have a portfolio they can send a link on, having some support in how to talk about these things, having a record of them. Think about, life is long, and how do we remember all of the amazing things that we do and connect that to our future workplaces and our future trajectories. So the LRNG platform aspires to really help make that bridge.
Kylie, while you have the microphone, do you want to say more about the merger and sort of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are super excited. As of October 1st, and we just did our public announcement, we have LRNG has merged with Southern New Hampshire University. Early on in the discussions, we started describing ourselves like spirit animals. There's so much of what the mission and ambitions of Southern New Hampshire University and LRNG that it is sort of a natural alignment in terms of the values and the populations that we're serving, and really trying to be game changers in the field of education. So we've been working together from for the past few months on a whole bunch of exciting projects. One for Google, which we are trying to change the nature of assessment to more performance-based and competency-based education. So that you can demonstrate your understandings through those competencies, not through seat time, but through competency portions. So we've got all this great team that does outstanding work in creating games that can demonstrate competencies like collaboration or critical thinking skills in ways that we can test it and cultivate it in game, but it transfers to real world settings. And so we started working together on this. And what if these are the ways that you could start to earn your college credentials? And how can we start to think about this, especially in soft skills? Because you might be learning things outside of the classroom that you should start to get credit for and start to be able to have evidence that you have these skills. So we've been working together on projects like that, and we're working on new pathways. We've started a new effort in Birmingham and Chicago, for example, that we're going to be working on. How do we really achieve a whole citywide platform of learning? So we've got the mayors and the libraries and several other partners and the local corporate partners that are doing a lot of the hiring in the local area. How do we start to come together to solve these really, really big problems that cities are facing, for the youth that we care most about?
I just wanted to quick shout out on Birmingham. A friend of this show, he's been on a lot, not recently, but Al Elliott is an amazing fourth grade math teacher in Birmingham, or just outside, and he's been setting up gloweries and doing. Anyway, I've been sending him that you guys are there, and we need to make that connection. So Al, if you heard this another way, there you go.
Great.
Yeah.
Birmingham is an amazing spot right now. So much happening. They've got a young new mayor that it just has a ton of support. There's a lot of people that are there, kind of really, this I think this is happening in a lot of smaller cities, but just sort of a reclaiming and a rebuilding of what this means. And so you see a lot of really smart people just really diving in to solve some really challenging problems. And we're really excited to be part of that.
Cool. Katie, I want to give you permission to go if you have to, but oops, you're muted. But
I do need to, so, but okay. I've got about 2 minutes.
Okay, so let's try. Did you have a girls coding club? Do you want to describe what that is?
Girls Who Code is at least nationwide, if not global. Mm-hmm. And there is a set program that you can follow, or you can bring in experts, or you can do whatever you want, but the purpose is to get girls coding. And I have my students come in every Tuesday, and we are teaching them different coding skills and going through different things. And so we've done Scratch, and we've done, use different things like Makey-Makeys and whatever, but I want something that's a little bit more serious, and it's my own ineptness at coding. I'm learning along with them. And so LRNG is something that I'm really looking at to maybe be the basis for the rest of our club meetings starting in January.
So if this were a presentation, we would have set this up better, but could we even just try, see what happens? So does that make sense?
Yes,
let me
please.
See. I'm going to share this. And it wasn't coming up right away, but let's see what happens. Am I sharing that? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think I looked this up before, but what would I look for, do you think? If I'm on my discovery page, right, and I'm there as a student.
That's right.
What would I do?
I think you want to go, to sort of craft and make, or
craft and make?
Science and math and technology. So in the crafted, so you'll start to see, this is, what Paul's doing is he's going through all of the playlists that are kind of hosted on the platform on these different topical areas. Let me pin you, Paul, so I can see your.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
I'm not sharing the screen. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, and if you go to Best Buy, for example, if you search for Best Buy at the top in the search engine, this is something that everybody that's on the LRNG platform can get started with right now. And just remember too that your youth can actually come and sign up, and there's never a charge to youth. Yes, if you go to Best Buy there on the left.
And I went to organizations, by the way. Yeah. Too. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So you're searching for organizations. Now you're looking at their content. So we did a lot of this is on the national platform. So anybody who wants to get involved in this can get started. Today, setting their youth there, they can earn these badges, post them. There's actually a whole group of National Writing Project teachers that will review the work and issue badges behind the scenes here. So any of the soft circuits, coding your e-textiles, this will get.
This is your passion, Kylie, from a while ago.
Yeah, it's my passion. So this is a great way.
What do we mean by that? I mean, you've developed a lot of this curriculum in the past, have you not? Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a 4-book interconnection series through MIT Press, and it's actually a lot of the disappointment that we had. Christina Cantrell and I, and many across the National Writing Project Network, we all came to a 4-book series, much of which has coding at the center. That's now available through MIT Press, and those have been big sellers. We're in the second print of those and so forth. But what we didn't like was that you can't edit that curriculum very easily because it's published through a volume, and it's hard to update and these kinds of things. And so much of the conception of LRNG was really born out of that early digital media and learning work through the MacArthur Foundation, and sort of reconceiving what could a platform be like, so we can actually better share our practice and build on the successes of others. So
some of the playlists we did 2 years ago, whenever teachers want to use them again, have to be shaped up and fixed and
Right.
like we don't quite do it that way anymore.
I know.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, Paul, I think you're logged in as a youth, I'm guessing.
I am, yes.
So you'll need to log in as an educator, but there's a whole remix engine. So if you like this, you could just start to tag, I want to remix it. And in fact, you'll see a lot of educators taking a lot of the content that we offer nationally, and that means that we'll issue badges, we'll pay for your assessment of those things, and then you know, then there's another level where you know, Youth Voices is hosting content and issuing badges, for example, or other organizations are doing the same. So we've Best Buy had sponsored these playlists, and that's but they're hosted on our LRNG national channel. Yeah, so if you go to the dashboard.
Yeah, where do we go now?
Yeah, so
I don't usually get content this way, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you go to your content. Yeah, go to you're on dashboard. Go to your content. So the dashboard is all content that have been submitted. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I have to go. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Hey, Paul, will you send a link to this because I want to see what she's doing? Okay, it was good to see you all again.
Thank you, Katie.
Bye-bye.
Okay, dashboard. You said go to content. I'm not very good at listening. No.
Right, yes,
okay, there you go. Okay.
There you go. All right. So so you can start to, these are all of the playlists that you have access to here. You can view. And then, you know, everything is editable, you know, so once you publish something. If
I go to this XP, I can remix it?
Yeah.
I can, but why can't I?
A remix button. And you're logged in as an educator, right? Not as a user.
Yeah, but I also am in the Best Buy org. So that's the complication. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd have to go to another org to show that.
Probably,
okay.
Yeah. So you'll, as you start to shop around, there'll be a big tag there, kind of in rainbow font, that'll say remix, and you just tag that, and all of those XPs will start to go into your playlist builder, and you can start to just remix and edit things however you'd like. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't show that so well.
That's okay.
Is there a network? Well, okay. Let's come back to the conversation. Chris or Rich, what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I'm just watching, and I'm kind of imagining what my students are going to be doing with this. You know what I mean? You know, and I kind of get that because I've been doing it. Like for the last couple of weeks, I've just been playing around, looking for stuff, looking for the different badges that I might give them or show them. Like, hey, do this. And it's kind of, I know what's going to end up happening. It's like, I only have this class for, it's the class of seniors. It's a very small class. It's just a semester. So we're going to do it. You know, they'll probably, you know, I'm hoping like they might fish around, you know. We were talking about in Washington about this because I'm really interested in like how kids fish around on the internet. I'm really interested in when students like come and give me a fact on the internet that's like really accurate. And I'm like, where did you get that? Like, because sometimes students give you garbage, sometimes they don't. And when I look at the content here, I feel like it's really good. Like I did the conflict resolution one just to see what that's like. And I'm like, you know, this all looks, and I was talking to my wife about it, who's a school psychologist. And she was like, yeah, that, you know, that makes sense. That's what you do, right? So it's like all this content looks very legit. And, you know, for students to be able to.
Is that it here, right here, this one?
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
There are a couple.
Yeah. You had to answer questions, and there was like scenarios that you had to engage in. But also, I mean, the fact that you could also like, so as a student, I feel like that idea of their voice, right? Like they have to constantly be taking information from us, right? From the teachers, right? Here's, you take, open mouth, take. And I feel like, you know, I always try to disrupt that in my class as much as possible. You know, I'm very much thinking in that Deweyan sense, that experiential, that like voice of democracy, right? So when I hear that students can then start pushing stuff out, I say like, well, the students I have now, we're not going to be able to get there because we got to learn how this works, right? But I could see like down the road how this gets unrolled out for me and my students, and then how it gets rolled out later in a larger school, because You know, I think that a lot of schools are looking for different things to do. And frankly, like technology and education is just, I feel like it's hard to come by good technology and education. And the fact that people are participating and making it kind of puts the ownership on the community who makes it too. So if
Yeah.
you see something good, you want to rise toward that. And I think that there's some good stuff there already.
So one of the interesting new roles for a teacher, though, comes up when I look at this, because you said conflict resolution. I just, as a student, went in and searched, right? And I found 5 of them. So how do I decide? My teacher said, why don't you go do one on conflict resolution, right? I found 5 of them. I can look kind of quickly and choose, I guess. And or a teacher could, oh, here's one. I'll do this one. It's only one. No. But I do think the point I was trying to make is I do think that there's no way teachers will know everything, but we can know, like, oh, that one that LRNG did, that one's really good. Go to that one, right? Try that one first. So curating for youth would be still a good role for a teacher, it seems to me.
Yeah, and plus I feel like, you know, I also need to just preview things for my, you know, make sure the content's okay for my administrators for whatever reasons, you know, like.
Yeah, but you won't be able to preview everything.
Well,
yeah.
And that's you know, but it is like it's something that, you know, I feel like in the classroom I'm thinking about a lot more lately, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to the, you know, what goes on in the classroom due to these elections and the politics. It's like there's a lot going on. So it's nice that National Geographic is doing this, because National Geographic is National Geographic. So like I think that was a nice. When I told my administrators I was doing this, and I said National Geographic, you know,
right.
I don't know about you, but I hear that 1970s dot 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 dot, but other people might.
No, but that endorsement kind of thing is really important. Yep.
Yeah, I think that combined, you know, and I think this is what, you know, sort of, you know, the LRNG platform, we really are aiming to sort of bring so many, you know, folks into conversation with one another. And I think it's important, you know, those brand names, I think are important, not just to administrators, but also to the youth themselves, and sort of what that means to be participating and in conversation. But I think that there's another level to it too. You know, I'm just really thrilled that we now have portfolio functions, you know, so it's not just these badges, but the work that the kids are doing get baked into the badges that they're creating. And so so there's a portfolio behind the badge, so you can see the work that's being created there. You know, so, you know, if you have something like you know, a 1XP kind of badge, but maybe it's a really incredible piece that the kids did and they've earned this amazing badge. You know, how do we start to sort through this? I mean, there are still a lot of open questions, I think, Paul, that you're hitting on, you know, as you're kind of raising these questions here, things that we need to source through as we're working together, you know, to keep extending this work on the platform.
Mm-hmm. Right. I was just quickly, wait, am I sharing? I'm not right away, right? Meant to, sorry.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so here's the portfolio I started making. Why didn't the badge come up? It's there, it'll come up. Anyway, but I didn't even know this, but, it's gonna be too hard to log off and find the kids, or maybe it won't, but one of the things building the portfolio from the get-go does is it kind of lays out for the youth what the whole project might look like. You know, there are good and bad things about that, but I think it's been useful. So a kid can say, "Oh, I've got this playlist done, but then I've got to work on these two," and kind of it has helped me clarify what their work is.
Well, I think that gets, you know, that's part because of that gaming, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is where I just feel that coming in, that gamingness of it there,
that, you know, there's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. First I'm a donkey, and then I want to turn into a Mario, you know, whatever. You know, like that is there, and that's definitely part of it. And I was just talking to a teacher today about that. Like, it's like, I have no idea. Like, I read all these great scholars about gaming, and I just have never done it. You know what I mean? It's that thing when you're actually on the ground in the classroom teaching, and you get all these ideas. You're like, you have to put it into practice and like ease it in. And this idea of gaming, what is gaming? I feel like that's gaming. I feel like, and what's really cool, again, I always go back to this, is that we're not the gamekeepers, you know, like the gatekeepers. The students can also create games and share games with us down the road. And certainly their portfolios themselves are like them contributing to the community. In my department, they're talking about doing portfolios. So it's like, I'm thinking about like, all right, let me do mine first before I show it to them. How do you introduce this to a department? You know, all those kinds of things are interesting too, about how you get this stuff into schools.
Right.
Right. And now, you know, this portfolio tabs that you have up there, you know, when you go to a city like Chicago, for example, as they're publishing their portfolios, you're going to see more and more of that work. This is kind of a new feature that's available, so you're going to see this populate. Yeah, go to a particular city and feed.
I'm a student, though. Will this work? Yeah.
Yeah. You can
okay,
go.
good.
Yeah, that's kind of the beginning.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So go to Chicago and then go.
That's the right place.
Yeah, the portfolio. Go up right there, right under your follow. Go to portfolios, and so you can actually see what youth in Chicago are doing and the portfolios that they're creating. So when you go to the organizational or the city landing pages, you're going to start to see increasingly more of these as well. So so that it's a good way. You know, and the youth have to opt in and the teachers have to opt in to share this work in this way. But you're going to see more and more of this on the LRNG platform this year. So
I know this isn't what this call's about, but let me make my request anyhow. one of the so if I were here creating a portfolio, there is a template, right? The first time I come in.
Yeah.
I would love as a teacher to create a template for youth to use too. Do you know if that's on the drawing board anywhere? Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't think we have, but send it to me. I will get it on the drawing board.
Okay. It may not be a good idea either, I'm not sure. But it just seemed like somewhere in between, like do anything and yeah, would be useful.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway, so Christina, do you want to check in? Hi.
Hello. Just here the last few minutes. I was getting my CPR badge tonight. It's actually kind of interesting.
Did you get a badge?
Well, I got a certification. I got a little metal thing, but I actually had to go to the place. But they did have a whole online component to it. So it's adult and pediatric certification for CPR. And so they have this online thing you do first, and then you go to the face-to-face thing and finish it. So I don't know. It's just sort of interesting the way they had it set up. So it's got me thinking about that right now. But I do love these portfolios, and we're actually going, a group of us. Paul, did you talk about NCT at all?
Nope.
Okay. Well,
yeah, please do. Yeah.
Rich,
we need to. We want. Right? Yeah, Rich, you're going to be there, and I think you were saying you were coming on Wednesday. So let's use Rich as an example. Yeah. Thursday we're doing a workshop. Are you?
Oh, okay.
It's an all-day workshop from all day. It's a 4-hour workshop from 11:30 to 3:30.
And we heard there's still room, still time to sign up.
Oh, that sounds great though. That sounds. So it's going to be on what? Like what is what's your focus there?
Amping youth voices with playlists and badges, right, Paul?
Yeah. So
it does cost extra money, just know that.
But your school district can pay that, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I mean, we're going to show some of the stuff we've been working on, but then, I mean, Christina and I just worked on the agenda again recently, and we want to give us at least half of that time, maybe more, to people actually designing what they want to kind of playlist themselves, probably on paper, right? Just as a design exercise. And one idea we had is that that we'll pick the ones that we'll actually make into playlists for them.
Like if you know, yeah.
It'll be a competition.
The winning one can actually be made into a real playlist. But and the first half of it too, we wanted to start with some portfolios. So Lana from New York City is going to show some of the portfolios that the students made during the L Institute this summer, and have people look at student work first, and then look at start to think about playlists and badges. So start with the evidence and then go backwards.
And that's always the hard part with teachers, right? Like, you know, teachers need to see it. Like, I just feel like even whatever it is, even a technique or, you know, when you read a journal article about it, it's just not the same as seeing it. And that's why, like, when you give a workshop, I was taught by Sheridan Blau, like, when you give a presentation, just always workshop. Just always workshop. And it's just like, it's so true. Like, it's, first of all, what do you want to talk about for, you know, the whole time? You know, why would you bore people like that? But then it's
too much to prep too.
Yeah, but well, that's it too. But and you know, you're doing this digital stuff and you're limited because like the Wi-Fi. How are you going to get all that set up, right? But that's a good idea. That really like letting people think it out, because I was just my teacher today. We were talking about PD, and she said I left with that PD, and it was like, granted, we have a new department head. She started in, and she's like, you know, I didn't have something to take with me. I know we had to talk about these things, and that's sometimes what you have to do too.
So, but Rich, if you were going to make a playlist, what's your first playlist you're going to make? When we'll end our time here with that.
My playlist?
Yeah, your dream playlist.
Yeah,
you have a week to make it. You don't have to go into class. You can just sit at home, make your playlist.
I mean, it's definitely like I would do the listening point as the playlist. I mean, I think everybody needs to go outside. You know, kind of like what we did with the walkout, you know, this summer with the National Writing Project, you know, and I know that you have theirs. They have that.
Oh, the write out.
They did that, right?
Yeah.
But I think I would bring bring in some literature there. You know, I think we need, you know, some poetry, some poesy out there.
Cool.
So you would take that project that you've been doing with your kids and turn that into a playlist?
Well, I'd amp it up because it's online. You know, there's all these other things now I can do. You know, like that's the great thing about being online. All those affordances that get opened up, and you know, some things get closed. You can't do certain things, but you can do others. You know, so I think would love to be bringing in a map, Google Map. I love what you can do with Google Maps. I just love maps.
Cool. Yep. And there's a teacher we've been working with. I just talked to her this afternoon. She's pregnant and going on pregnancy leave. And I'm like, you can sit at home and do playlists, which I thought she thought I was a little anyway. But I wasn't sure how she would respond, but she was excited about it. And she's like, oh yeah, I want to do that Black Power playlist. Like, okay, let's do it.
Cool.
Anyway. So that's part of the excitement of I mean, that's I think a really important part of what LRNG is that creative engine that it can be. So just to say, Kylie, do you want to have a last word here?
Well, I love this idea that the LRNG could be the creative engine behind this work. You know, I think it's definitely not a replacement for the educator, but hopefully can help to extend and inspire educators. So we look forward to kind of hearing from all of you and you know, learning from all of this. I love the ideas that have just come up tonight, especially.
Cool. Thank you, and we'll keep going. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Paul.
Good night.
Good night.
Take care.